It's another Flashback Friday and I'm continuing my look at the Real Ghostbusters toy line from Kenner. This week I'm going to focus my attention on the Ecto Bomber. This is another vehicle from this line and once again demonstrates Kenner's imaginative streak when it came to inventing new and wild toys for this collection. The Ecto Bomber is a kind of seaplane. I always had a lot of affection for this. I think it's a really cool design, a pretty cool toy all in all, and a little bit different to any other toys on the market at that time. So as ever, we'll start off by looking at the packaging. Now mine hasn't fared too well over the years, as you can see it is a little bit damaged, and also you may notice that this is the German language version. I'm not entirely sure how this ended up in toy shelves in the UK, but nevertheless this was the version I got when I was a child. But the packaging, as ever, as we can see, is pretty standard from what we see from Kenner in this line at the time. It is that glorious purple background and there is that fantastic illustrated image there, which is very fun and evocative of the spirit of the animated series and the toy line as a whole. We can see the plane, we can see the ghost on the wing, we can see Janine also on the wing there, and it looks really fun and inviting, which is fantastic stuff. On the side panel we have some actual photographs of the toy in action and highlighting its various action features, which we'll take a look at shortly. There's not much assembly required with this plane, you simply need to snap on the wings, otherwise it is pretty much just one solid piece, and it is nicely scaled to fit at least one action figure in this toy line. And as a result, it's quite nicely scaled to be quite sizable, but not too big nor too small, to fit alongside the other vehicles in this collection. There's not really a lot of moving pieces to this toy. It does have a propeller at the front, which is kind of cool, which does obviously spin around. There's no way of artificially making this spin. There's no trigger or anything like that. It's not motorized, but it can spin with a touch of the finger. And I do like the little detail on the broken wind there that's been mended with a bit of bandage tape, which I think is pretty cool. Now, whereas a lot of the vehicles in this line often suffered from not having a lot of detailing when it came to paint apps or stickers, which could occasionally make these toys feel a little bit bland, here Kenner have thrown everything at this vehicle, and there's an awful lot of colour, a lot of sculpting, lots of different pieces on the plane, which gives it a nice texture, but they have given it a ton of stickers. We can see all sorts of multiple Ghostbuster logos for some reason, I'm not entirely sure why. We have the name of the plane on it, we have the Ecto Bomber sign, we have the engine, which is covered in slime. We can see those controls, which look really nice. We have the windscreen, which again has some slime on the window, and of course we can see Slimer in the cockpit, which I think is a really nice touch. But there's so many stickers here that make this really bright and colourful and very busy for the eyes, I have to say. You'll notice there is this gun turret at the front of the ship. Again, there's no real way of controlling this, but you can lift it up and down and move it from side to side. It's a pretty nice sculpt, it's very science fiction in its design, and I think it's a pretty cool looking gun. I think it's a really nice touch that it has these wheels at the bottom of the plane. It can move forwards and backwards, and we'll take a look at that a little bit later, but to me it puts me in mind of seaplanes as well, which I think is really cool, so it feels a little bit versatile. Each wing is a unique sculpt, so there are little differences between them. On this side, for example, we can see that fire hydrant, which is pretty cool. Again, a lot of stickers here, slime, the Ghostbusters logo, that fire symbol, which is pretty cool. And you'll notice there is this giant bomb as well that just tucks into the wing there. Of course, it is a bomber, and this is the bomb that they drop. For anyone who's collected any of the other vehicles in this line, this kind of design will feel very familiar, as we've seen this a few times. We saw it on Ecto 2, for example. But all in all, the plane itself is nicely scaled. It's a nice design, it's very attractive to the eye. I really like the complementary colour schemes that we see here. There's a lot going on in terms of the stickers and the colours and the visual interest, and it's a very nice piece in its own right. Now, of course, it is scaled to fit your figures, so you can take one of your Ghostbuster figures and you can crouch them into the seated position and you can slide them into the cockpit and they fit perfectly. And this looks good. It doesn't look quite right in terms of human scale, but it looks really good for this collection. As I mentioned, the wheels, of course, do work, so if you lift up the plane, you can move it very smoothly forwards and backwards, which is a nice touch. as was customary for this line, it does of course come with a complimentary ghost or ghoulie. This one of course is modelled on a kind of skydiver, which is pretty cool. He's got that little pack there with presumably his parachute in, he's got his goggles, which I think is really cool, and it's a really fun, cheeky sculpt that he's got as well. So a little bit of a character that can be used in different ways with this plane. There's a little hole on either side of the wing where he can just plug in, so he can look like he's holding onto the wing in flight, which is a pretty fun, cool idea, and it looks pretty good, and it still works after all these years, so I think it's a nice touch, a well executed idea. Now, as you'd expect from a toy from the late 80s and early 90s, it does of course have an action feature, and you'll notice there is this giant contraption underneath the plane that looks suspiciously like a grappler, and indeed on the side of the plane there is a little switch that when you press it squeezes the arms together to grab anything in its path. So if your ghost is feeling accommodating, you can of course grab hold of him, and if you keep that trigger squeezed you will be able to just about keep him in place in midair. There is another slightly bizarre feature underneath the plane. We can see there's this sort of little spoke area where you can hook your ghost in and have them suspended from the plane. It does work remarkably well, although it does seem a little strange. And for the final feature, you may notice on the wing there are these peg holes. That is of course for other figures who can stand on the wing. So if we take Janine for example, we can stand there on the edge of the plane here and have her flying in the air alongside Egon, which actually works a lot better than you might think. So once again, Kenner have provided a pretty fun addition to this collection. It's a little bit different. They've certainly put a lot more effort, I think, when it comes to the overall design of the plane. There's definitely a lot more love and attention gone into the paint apps and the stickers on this vehicle. It has a number of fun elements, I think, to make this work quite well and provide a few hours of fun for kids, and I certainly have fond memories playing with this vehicle in my Ghostbusters collection as a kid. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and remember to subscribe as there'll be plenty more videos soon.